Hey crafty friends, I have a new collection from Paper Rose Studio to share with you all. I have 2 paper packs and 3 different packs of die cuts. The Strawberry Friends 6x6 paper pack has some really nice designs and cut apart images. There are 18 sheets of double-sided paper, 3 of each of the 12 designs. The second pack, Strawberry Friends Basic, is another 6x6 pack. This one has a lot more simpler designs with lots of reds and greens. Both packs work great together and also great individually. I will be using images from the Embossed die cuts pack, which features 4 sheets of 6x8 embossed pop-out die cuts. There is 1 design of each. Next are tags and tickets embossed die cuts. Again, they're 4 sheets of 6x8 embossed pop-out die cuts, 1 of each design. This set features some die cuts that would work perfect for sentiments. Finally, I'll be using the Quick Cards die cuts, and this package of 6x8 pop-out die cuts features lots of sentiments to use, as well as some large circle images for really quick cards. This collection does feature cut-apart image sheets, and the paper packs come in 12x12 as well. And if you're interested, I'll have links in the description box below. Card number 1 is taking inspiration from Paper Plays sketch number 21. For the background paper, I chose this lovely fluoro paper, and for the strip across the center, I chose red dotted paper. I start with adding some adhesive to the back of the strip and lay it across the center of my background paper. For some added separation between the papers, I'm using some Love from Lizzie peel-offs. I'm using the medium-sized pinstripes, and I line the first one up with the top of my red paper, and I take a second pinstripe and lay it across the bottom of the red paper. I trim off the excess, leaving just a little bit overhanging on either side. I fold those ends over onto the back of my pattern paper. Next, I layer my pattern paper onto some red cardstock cut to A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. My pattern paper is cut 1/8 of an inch smaller to leave a small red border around the edge. For this card, I'm going to be using some 2x3 cut-apart images. I chose 2 goose images and then a sentiment, 1 for the center. I apply some glue to the back of the first image, leaving about 1/2 inch from the edge of my card. I do the same for the image on the right side. Finally, I glue the sentiment image in the center, and this helps me to get even spacing between all of the images. As a final touch, I'm using this bow embossed die cut, which I glued on the bottom of the center square. The embossed die cut provides some shine and texture to my card. Next, I add some tape to the back of my card mat and attach it to my white A2 size card base. I made a second card using some mice images with a floral sentiment. This card I made uses green background and green pinstripes with a gingham bow. For card design number 2, I'm taking inspiration from Mojo Monday sketch number 536. I chose this lovely paper that has a bunch of strawberries for my background paper and pink gingham for the tone-on-tone paper. I start with adding some adhesives to the back of the strip and lay it across the center of my background paper. The strip is 1 1/2 inches wide. Again, for some added separation between the papers, I'm using red pinstripe peel-offs from Love from Lizzie. Since I'm using a large circle image for this card, I can use the smaller scrap pieces of peel-offs. I use my large circle die cut to make sure that the ends of my peel-offs aren't showing. I trim off the longer sides and fold the ends over onto the back of my pattern paper. I grabbed my large circle die cut image and I chose an adorable mouse pulling a strawberry cart. I add glue to the back and place it off center to the left, about 2 inches from the edge. Next I grab my sentiment and embossed happy birthday die cut. I add glue to the back and place it on the top right side of my large image. I add tape to the back of my pattern paper and attach it to my red cardstock. I now have a nice small red border around my card. I finish this off with some tape on the back of my cardstock and attach it to my white card base. I did make 3 more cards using this design. Card design number 3 takes inspiration from Sketch Saturday number 776. I'll be using this adorable animal pattern paper plus some green gingham and pink dotted paper. I start with my pink paper and I'm going to make this into a flag. So I grab my ruler to draw a line 2 inches from the bottom. And next I measure the center of my line before I draw lines from the center mark to each corner of my paper. I drew these lines on the back of my pattern paper and used them as a guide to cut the paper from each corner to the center mark. I applied tape to the back of my green gingham paper, which is 1 inch wide, and I attached the gingham onto the animal paper, laying it across the left towards the bottom. Next, I apply glue to the pink dotted paper and place it on my card mat. I line it up with the top of my pattern paper and leave about a 1/2 inch gap from the left. I grab this strawberry picket fence tag and glue it to the center of my pink flag. Finally, I add this cute raccoon die cut and glue it in the center of the tag, using the head of the raccoon to hide the hole on the tag. I add the sentiment next. Congrats is the sentiment I'm going to be using, and I glue it on the right beside the raccoon. I trim off the excess from the green gingham strip. I add tape to the back of my pattern paper and add it to a red cardstock mat. My pattern paper is 1/8 of an inch smaller than the A2 size card mat. Finally, I add tape to the back of my card mat and attach it to my white card base. I did make a second card using this design as well. Operation Ride Home number 91 is the inspiration for card number 4. I've cut 3 strips of paper, all are 1.5 inches wide by 4 inches long. This card is quick and perfect for using up scraps. Add tape to the back of the first mouse pattern strip and place it on the bottom of my white A2 size card base. I make sure to leave a small border at the bottom and along the sides. I add tape to the back of the second mouse pattern strip and place it on the top of my card base. Again, I leave a small border around the top and sides. The gingham strip is last, and I add tape to the back and place it in between the first 2 stripes. And I'll be using an embossed die cut banner for the sentiment. I add glue to the back and stick it on the left side of the gingham strip. I did make a second card using floral paper and another embossed die cut sentiment. Card 5 is inspired by Freshly Made Sketches number 663. I'll be using some pink and green dotted paper and green gingham. The large pattern paper is a tag patterned paper, and it's cut an 1/8 of an inch smaller than A2 size. I add tape to the back and center it on this red A2 size piece of cardstock. I add tape to the back of my green dotted paper. This is a 3 by 3 inch square. I attach it in the center of my card mat, and then I add the pink dotted paper strip next with tape on the back, and I lay it across the center of my green square. This strip is then topped with a green gingham square, which is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. I make sure it's also centered on the bottom green square. Now for the final touches, I'm using 2 embossed bunny die cuts. I add glue to the back of the first one and attach it on the left side of my squares. The second bunny gets glue next, and I glue it on the right side of my square. I have a Thinking of You embossed die cut sentiment. Add glue to the back of it and stick it in the top right side of my card mat. I finish this off with some tape on the back of the cardstock and attach it to my white card base. I made 3 additional cards using a bunch of different adorable die cuts, and I did make one card in landscape to show the versatility of the sketch. Card design number 6 is another super simple card sketch, and I want to showcase this lovely house pattern paper. This image is cut to 3.75 inches by 4 1/4 inches. I start with adding tape to the back and attaching it to a red cardstock mat. This mat is an 1/8 of an inch larger than my pattern paper. Putting that aside, I attach my card mat to my card base. My card mat is some wood plank pattern paper. I put tape on the back and attach it to my white card base. Next, I put tape on the back of my earlier square and place it on the top half of my card mat. I leave equal spacing along the top and the sides. For the die cut images, I'm using the fox and swan with baskets. I'm also using an embossed die cut sentiment. I glue to the back of my sentiment and place it in the top right corner. I add glue to the fox image and place it on the bottom portion of my card mat. I add glue to the back of the swan and place it to the left of the fox. I made a second card. This time I used 2 larger swan embossed die cuts. Card design number 7 makes use of this sweet cupcake pattern paper and some cupcake embossed die cut images. I start with the card mat, and I cut my pattern paper an 1/8 of an inch smaller than A2 size. And I add tape to the back and attach it to the center of an A2 size red cardstock mat. Next, I'm creating a white box for my embossed images. The white is an 1/8 inch smaller than my red cardstock mat. I add tape to the back of the white cardstock and center it on the red. I then add tape to the back of my red cardstock and attach the box to my card mat. Place it off center on the right hand side. I arrange my cupcakes and place glue on the back of the first one, place it on the right side of my box. I add glue to the other cupcake and place it on the left side, overlapping the first one. Finally, I add the sentiment, jam-packed with love. I add glue to the back of this embossed die cut and place it below the cupcakes. I finish this off with some tape on the back of my card mat and attach it to my white card base. I made a second card using the same paper and slightly different embossed die cuts. Card design number 8 is inspired by Cards TV sketch number 53. The pattern paper I'll be using is the Adorable Animals and Pink Gingham. This is another super quick card sketch. And I start with adding tape to my larger strip, the animal print paper. And I place it on a red A2 size cardstock mat. And I lay it on the left side, centered on the paper. I did have to adjust the placement before adding tape to the gingham paper. I place that paper on the right side. I used circle dies to cut a 3-inch circle from white cardstock. This circle is where I'm going to glue this adorable mouse pulling a strawberry card. I add glue to the back of my die cut and place it in the center of my circle. I add glue to the back of the circle and place it on my card mat. I place this circle in the center of the card mat. Finally, I'm using a cut apart sentiment, also from Paper Rose Studio. I add glue to the back and glue it below my mouse image. To add a tiny bit of embellishment to this card, I'm using some red heart peel-offs from Love from Lizzie. I place 2, a large and medium, in the top right corner at an angle. I place a final heart just below my sentiment. I then add tape to the back of my card mat and attach it to my white card base. I made 3 more cards using this. Operation Write Home bonus sketch number 2 is the inspiration for card design number 9. For this card, I'm going to be using pink dotted paper and this lovely strawberry bushel paper. Each is going to be matted on red cardstock, an 1/8 inch larger than my pattern paper. I start with adding tape to the back of my pink dotted pattern paper and place it on the center of a red mat. I repeat the process with the other sheet of pattern paper, again with tape on the back, and place it in the center of a red card mat. I start assembly by putting tape on the back of my matted pink paper, and I place it on the left side of my card base. I center it along the edges. Next, I add tape to the matted strawberry paper. This time I center it on the right. This paper is slightly smaller than the first, leaving a nice overlapping look. I'm using 2 embossed die cuts. The first is this Admit 1 ticket and then a berry pun sentiment. I add glue to the back of the ticket and place it on the card mat first. Glue goes on the back of the sentiment next, and I place it on the bottom left corner, overlapping the ticket die cut. I was able to make another copy of this card as well. The final card design is inspired by Operation Write Home sketch number 67. I'm going to use more of that adorable mouse paper as well as some pink cloudy paper. I start with adding tape to the back of my pink paper and line it up with the bottom of the card base. Next, I add tape to the back of my mouse pattern paper and line it up with the top of the card base. There's now a gap between the pattern papers. To fill this gap, I'm going to use my red pinstripe peel-offs from Love from Lizzie. I place the largest size strips on the top and bottom of the gap. And I add a strip of the smallest size in between them both. I trim off the excess pinstripes and the pattern paper. I wanted to use these adorable mouse die cut images. I'm also going to be using a Best Wishes embossed die cut sentiment. I add glue to the back of it and place it in the top right corner of my card base. I add glue to the back of the first mouse die cut and place it on the bottom left. I follow that up with adding glue to the back of this second mouse and place it on the right side. I made a second card using the Adorable Ducks die cuts. I made a total of 26 cards using this paper collection. I'm in love with all the adorable animal die cut images, and I had a lot of fun making all of these. Check out my coordinating blog post for all the card sketch information, and the description box below has product links. And thanks for watching. Bye!